Do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
What the is that, dude?
On here, folks. I'm hearing myself in other parts of the world. Oh, hang on. All these things down there. Something with regard to it appears it's all turned off. Have I shut myself out? Oh God, no. Still going. This is ridiculous. Sorry, folks. I don't know how many windows I have open here that are clearly not doing the right thing for whatever reason. Anyway, right now I appear not to be hearing myself in 3 different areas. So fingers crossed, it's that way. Joining me tonight. I hope you had a great weekend, by the way, everybody. It's been a sort of an interesting one in my part of the world. And can I just say, bloody cold as today. Beautiful day. Amazing. Certainly by Queensland standards. I want to say very happy birthday to the awesome Sunflower, who has celebrated her birth or another day, the sun, if that's what. At any rate, I hope you had a wonderful day, Sunflower, and I hope family and you shared it in, well, style and a plum, and it just continues to be good tonight. So I trust you have a really wonderful day and happy returns. I should sing the happy birthday song to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sunflower. Happy birthday to you. There you go. Happy birthday. Just having a bit of a scan down some of the things that I saw in here earlier. Hello to everybody who's joining. Great to see so many of the family in early tonight having a bit of a chat. And, well, just the community. Just marvellous community. So great people having a chat. Hello, Wild Aussie Woman. I didn't get offended by you, and I didn't think you were trying to offend me. Don't worry about that. It's all good. I saw that comment the other night, but after the event. On red alert, cheers to you. G'day, Jack. Hope you're doing all right. Sad, good to hear from you, mate. And, well, hello to everybody else. I don't want to hold up my guest any longer than is absolutely necessary. Tonight, we've been trying to get this bloke on for a while, but his schedule is very busy. My schedule has holes and then doesn't have holes, and God knows how all it plays out in the end. But we do get there in. So tonight, I would like to finally say welcome to Craig Cole. Thanks for having the time to come on tonight, mate, and thank you for all the work that you're doing to leave our kids behind and for the kids in our communities. It's good to see you, mate.
Thanks very much, Carl, for that lovely introduction, and it's good to see you as well, mate. And thanks for having me on. It's a very important issue, this. And it's an issue that's close to my heart because the last 18 years I've worked with youth in the community, worked in the school system for 15 years, was on an education department contract for 10 of those years. So I know the system well. And even before all this over-sexualised content and radicalised gender theory was started to be taught in schools, that had a real problem back then, especially down in Victoria. And I would sort of tend to guess that it's the same nationwide now. Some schools do it well, but they're very few and far between. There'll be a lot of the private schools, but the state school system, basically, if the education department was a house, it would be a knockdown rebuild. That's how bad the system is. Now, they'll dress it up and look, you know, make it look all nice and warm and fluffy, but at the end of the day, our literacy and numeracy rates in this country are at an all-time low with children. because the education department is failing them. Now they're attacking them. They're attacking them with a radicalized gender theory and also highly inappropriate sexual content, all parceled up as a Trojan horse called respectful relationships and diversity and inclusion. That's the facts, and you can pull the homophobe card or the transphobe card or the bigot card as much as you like. I'm sorry, this is not an attack on the trans or gay community. Let's be clear on this. It is about keeping sexualized content out of the school system, not part of the curriculum, and also a radicalized gender theory should not be part of the school curriculum.
Yeah.
Any theory that leads to young people mutilating their bodies, I'm sorry, it's a radicalized theory and doesn't belong in the education system.
Have you been able to pinpoint in your research where and when this began? I want to say it was when Julia Gillard was Prime Minister, and she started a whole series of things inside the Education Department in Victoria, of which she used to be the lawyer, I think.
Yeah, go figure. What a coincidence. Hey?
What a coincidence.
How many coincidences do you need before it becomes mathematically impossible, hey? It's back in 2013, she changed the Sex Discrimination Act as well too, to that sex was that took sex out and put gender in. So I started way back then in 2013 when they rolled out the Safe Schools program in schools. Safe Schools program was a dangerous program, and the education departments around the country will tell you they don't run it anymore. That's a lie, because what they did when there was kickback on this in 2000, as early as 2016, they reparceled it, had a panic, and reparceled it as respectful relationships. Took the blatant, overt, inappropriate sexual content out. The original Safe Schools learning module had images of men giving other men oral sex. You know, they were trying to tell us this is part of a child's education. It is absolutely, it beggars belief. Now, when you have safe schools that were set up by a pedophiles advocate, and I'm openly okay to say that, because I'm going to read you. Now, this might be confronting what I'm going to read in a moment, Carl, but confronting and frank discussions need to be had around this issue. We've got to stop ignoring the elephant in the room and dancing around it because we don't want to offend people's feelings. Well, I'm sorry, your children are under attack, and it is a direct, deliberate attack by some teaching staff. Now, Safe Schools was written by the Australian Research for Sex, Health and Society. That was co-founded by a guy called Gary Dowsett. Gary Dowsett is a pedophiles advocate. Also, the Safe Schools Coalition that was rolled out in 2013, the Victorian coordinator, Ros Ward, is a raving Marxist, and I can quote you a few of the comments that she stated back in 2013, if you like, a little bit later on. I want to stick to Gary Dowsett for now. Gary Dowsett wrote in the 1980s a piece for a gay information journal. Now, once again, let me be crystal clear. If you're an adult and want to make certain lifestyle choices that don't impinge on your own safety or anyone else's, go right ahead. Of course, it's a free society. Now, he wrote in a gay information magazine. Now, why this is relevant is because of the content that he wrote. I'm just going to read you one of the paragraphs, and it is confronting, and apologies if it does cause some sort of angst to people listening, but like I said, this provides the context of how this situation was unfolded and implemented. Now, in the paragraph, I've read this numerous times and it doesn't get any better. Why would it? Many mothers and some fathers will agree that children are sexual and generate sexual responses in their parents. Cuddling, breastfeeding, bathing together, playing, kissing, and fondling kids are immensely pleasurable activities for them and us. And it is not uncommon to feel sexually aroused by that closeness, that touch, and that love. How different then is that gentle, tentative sexuality between parent and child from the love of a pedophile and his or her lover? That's from the person who peer reviewed 95% of the Safe Schools policy content.
Yeah, that's an impartial peer review, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That is written by a pedophile for a pedophile.
Yeah. So if you're wondering why, I mean, you know, this is the way, it's a Marxist, you know, the radicalized gender theory is a Marxist theory. And as you know, this is how the communists and the socialists and the Marxists implement all this stuff very slowly, drip by drip, erode away at morality. And they are normalizing this content. It is called, basically, if you have a look at in the Leave Our Kids Alone site, there's a documentary called War on Children. The trailer, watch the trailer. The trailer's free viewing. The movie will cost you $11 to download. It doesn't go to us. It's from an organization called freedomforever.us that do amazing work over there at Starbucks with the child sex trafficking and also this overly overt sexual content and attack on our children. And they speak about the mere exposure effect, and it's a psychological phenomenon to which people find to develop a preference for things or people that are more familiar to them than others. Now that's basically, you know, common sense, but what it does do, it gets into the psyche and subconscious when they're flooded with this information, bombarded. But the media uses a manipulation tool for basically taking fringe ideologies and fringe issues and normalizing them.
Yeah.
Want an example? And as part of that indoctrination, and part of that example is in one of the US states in America. Believe it or not, you can actually get 5 years jail for misgendering someone. 5 years jail. I forget which state it was, but 5 years jail for misgendering someone. Now, what they're doing there is, once again, it's psychologically getting people to accept that, well, hang on, I'd rather use someone's pronouns and go to prison. So that is all indoctrinated for the next generation to accept that. And that's what they're doing with this radicalized gender theory and this overly overt sexual content taught in schools. And when you've got a pedophiles advocate that champions that sort of nonsense and sick, perverted thoughts, that makes you wonder why. Also, Steve Angelides, can I just, while we're on the subject, let's just gloves off from the beginning, Carl. There's a part of the Safe Schools Coalition team was a someone else. Now, Gary Dowsett's from La Trobe University. Someone called Steve Angelides is from La Trobe University also as well too. Don't figure. It seems to be a common theme around La Trobe University. Steve Angelides still works at the La Trobe University. In 2014, and you can find the links on the Leave Our Kids Alone website. It's under researchgate.net. He wrote a journal in 2004 titled The Historicising Effect, Psychoanalyzing the History of Pedophilia and the Disclosure of Child Sexuality. Now, the title alone, like, gee whiz. One of the paragraphs he writes, there is research to show that as well as feeling a sense of power and control in sexual encounters with adults, children can frequently experience sexual pleasure. It is imperative that children's sexual desires and sense of power and pleasure not only be recognised but also normalised. That was one of the people responsible for rolling out Safe Schools in Victoria.
Mate, that is that is a huge mountain for you and your team to be climbing.
The mountain's got to be climbed, mate.
Oh,
Yeah.
it has. It's got to be dug out.
Yeah.
And I know you are certainly the man to be doing that. I've seen you at work and what you're capable of, and I can't support you enough in what you're doing here. The question I guess I have for you, based on what you've said so far, is parents taking an active role in the curriculum that their kids are being taught. Do you feel that at the moment certain elements of those curricula are being withheld from parents or are being
Absolutely.
presented in a indirect manner so that they may not be fully aware of what's going on?
Absolutely. I'll give you an example. Absolutely, that's what's happening. Now, don't forget, I spent 15 years in the school system. Now, I get a lot of kickback from teachers that are in there at the moment, or friends of teachers, or welfare workers, or friends of welfare workers, or whatever, that say, oh, no, I've got a friend who's a teacher, or I'm a teacher, and that doesn't happen at my school. It may not happen at your school. Plus, also, as confronting as this is for parents watching to believe, a lot of these so-called woke progressive teachers will lie to your face. I'm telling you this because they are hell-bent and have a belief and a certain amount of entitlement because they're a teacher, that they think that gives them open range to impart their own personal beliefs and ideologies onto your children, all under using the banner of, oh, I'm just being diverse and inclusive and you're being a bigot. Enough of that. The argument wears thin. It's not even a logical argument. It is a typical default argument from the woke progressives who want to take glee and delight in indoctrinating your children into the way they think life should be lived.
There has been a great increase in both the frequency, availability, and I guess the number of gender reaffirming surgeries that have taken place in the last 4 to 8 years.
Gender affirming care, apparently it is, Carl.
Yes, yeah. The suicide rates have gone up 12 times since gender reaffirming surgery. Well, post gender reaffirming surgery, the rates have gone up 12 times this year. So
we're told that, I think you're referring to a study out of the University of Texas, out of America, where they did an extensive study of 90 million people, case study. That's a fair study. And what it showed is, once again, we're lied to by the trans activists because one of their big arguments is, well, would you prefer a trans kid or a dead kid? Because their claim is that if you do not allow a young person to mutilate their body and change to the other sex, mutilate their body, take cross-sex hormones, that the results are irreversible. That's a lie that the trans activists and the woke and progressives will tell you. The CAS review has shown that up. The findings are so I forget the terminology they use. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but the findings basically are non-existent. There are no findings. These kids are guinea pigs. They're using this generation of children as guinea pigs. Now, the reason the statistics may have gone up, and the CAS review will show you that. The CAS review, if parents haven't read the CAS review, I would suggest you have a look through that. It is quite an extensive study out of the UK, the last 4 years study. That's different to the University of Texas. But what that showed up, Carl, was that people who were confused and had the gender reassignment surgery, the risk of suicide increased times 12.
Wow.
That's from a case study of 90 million people. Now, my information is from other sources as well too, that statistic is actually higher, and there's case studies in Europe at the moment that are about to be released that will show that percentage is actually higher than the 12%.
It's a frightening, absolutely terrifying statistic. And we can agree and acknowledge that parents are not being told the truth about the curriculum that their kids are being taught. What can they do about it? They get one night a term to go and front the teachers, and if they have their suspicions, what do they do? What if they're not, of a strong personal nature to confront the teachers over this, even though they feel strongly about it?
So here we go, a bit of tough love. I hear from every parent, I would die for my child. Don't you touch my child, or don't you do anything to my child. I'll rip your head off and I'll do this, I'll do that. Okay, well, it's time. I'm not talking about going and ripping teachers' heads off. I'm talking about having stern discussions with your teachers to protect your child. Now, they will lie to you. Now, can I just to try and add a bit of context and sort of a long-winded answer to that question, what you can do as a parent is start having other conversations with other parents at the school drop-offs and pickups, okay? Because this is an example I'll quote you. Now, this is out of high school. It was a 13 to 14-year-old boys and girls were asked the following questions, all under the banner of diversity and inclusion and respectful relationships, okay? Now, once again, this is where the content is not divulged to the parents. It is on the back of things that you might look through the modules, books like Catching On Early. The title alone to that is disturbing. Victorian sexuality for sexuality education for Victorian primary schools. That title alone is inappropriate. I mean, what moral society considers sexuality education an essential part of the school curriculum? And that's the very first sentence in the module, in the book, Catching On Early. But if you have a flick through that, some of the content you may consider, oh, well, that's fair enough. And that's when they start to sneak stuff in that they don't tell you about. Case in point. So back to sort of answering what parents can do. Start having conversations with other parents. Start emailing your school. I'll get onto that a little bit later towards the end. I thought I'd towards the end let parents know what they can do and the action they can take and sort of spell it out a bit, Carl. So just remind me of that. But these were the questions asked. Once again, this is a Catholic school, mind you. Okay? 13 and 14-year-old boys and girls. The boys were asked, does your penis float? What does it feel like to have an erection? And where is the male G-spot? To 13 to 14-year-old boys. And the girls were asked questions like, does size matter? 13 to 14-year-old girls were asked, does size matter? Now, this is all under respectful relationships and diversity and inclusion. Now, what the parent did was she went around and at the school drop-offs and sent emails to the friends, people that she knew had their email addresses, or gave phone calls to the parents that she had the other numbers and asked them, did you know your child was taught this? None of the parents knew. None of the parents knew. Not one. So the first thing you can do, parents, is start having conversations with your kids when they come home from school. Now, I get it. After working with kids for 18 years, to try and get more than 3 words out of a teenager when they come home from school, good luck, right? But we can't accept that anymore, okay? So, hey, what did you learn at school today? Diversity and inclusion. I'm hearing that's being taught a lot in schools at the moment. Did you learn any of that today? What does that look like? Mum's you're not in trouble.
Humanities homework.
Yeah, you're not in trouble. You're not. I just need to know. I'm not being old-fashioned. I just need to know because there's a lot of content in here that I understand that isn't appropriate.
So that works well for teenagers. But what about kids in primary school? Because they've been primed as well.
So ask them: Is there anything your teacher asked you today at school that made you feel uncomfortable? Would be a good question to ask. Is there anything they taught you at school today that made you feel a bit yucky and uncomfortable? Yeah, they taught us. Fantastic. Great. That's the conversations you need to have, because we did a rally outside the education department. One of the rallies we did just recently, I had a father come up to speak to me. His 8-year-old girl. 8-year-old girl. So this was a class full of 8-year-olds were told this. She said, Dad, I can't look at you the same anymore. He said, why is that? What happened? She said, well, Dad, today they taught us at school that when you go to sleep, your penis gets hard and wet stuff comes out. That was one of the questions that they ask under this diversity and inclusion. We're having primary school age girls, year 8, and boys being told how to put on condoms and how to masturbate. We're having poor reports from grandparents to say that when they look after their young grandchild, they get confronted with the young child playing with themselves, and the response is, oh, my teacher told me if I touch myself down there, it feels good. These aren't made up stories. These are reports from parents that are beside themselves, that when they go and complain to the school, they get fobbed off.
Yeah.
And basically told that, no, that's not happening.
Yeah.
Now, once again, these examples don't happen in every single school, but they are happening in a lot of schools. We're having, before I mention this, Bernie Finn got up and spoke in Victorian Parliament 2 years ago about a homework sheet that was given to 10-year-olds. 10-year-olds. Girls included, and one of the constituents from his electorate informed him. There was questions on that sheet. Ask your father how big their penis gets and how hard their penis gets and how much they ejaculate, to 10-year-old girls. Even boys, that's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
This is the content that's being taught.
Yeah. It's almost
sorry,
pornographic in nature. I've noticed too that I've seen it on Facebook, or maybe it's Instagram, or maybe it's even YouTube, coming up as shorts content. Where in one case in particular, I'm not completely sure that it wasn't an AI generated female, but it was a very attractive female explaining the virtues to other young females, young girls, I could assume only 16, 17, 18-year-old teenagers, that sex is okay and a much better way of having sex. You should try it. And then the bit that got me is that I saw something flash up on the screen, and it was only up there for a few frames and went and gone again. And trying to pause on it was almost impossible. So I've got the ability to record all that and slide down. So I did. And it has 4 or 5 points stating very clearly that you should should take it up the bum because it keeps you a virgin. You can't get pregnant. I forget what number 3 was. The last one was it'll keep your man really happy.
And this is
we're seeing. I'm pretty sure it was. I'm pretty sure that I saw it through a Facebook ad or something that scrolled through on my feed.
Yeah, well, so that's sexual content, and that's a good point. That sexual content is bombarded with our kids all the time. Now, the education department and the schools' argument to that is, well, by talking about and introducing all sexuality talk into the curriculum, we're providing a safe space for kids to talk about it. No, you're not. You're actually, what you're doing is condoning, by putting this in as part of the curriculum, you are further condoning what they're seeing and can access content. I mean, there's kids now accessing pornography at lunchtime and masturbating in the toilets at lunchtime. Now, this is aided by the fact that they are constantly bombarded with this stuff and taught this stuff at school. It just emphasizes in their own mind that this is normal. Now, the Oxford Dictionary definition of normal, just let me put my glasses on, please, is conforming to a standard, usual, typical, or expected. So they are trying to normalize what is not normal with the mere exposure effect, normalizing all this sexual behavior in young people. It is wrong and it should not be in the curriculum. Now, if parents want to teach this radicalized gender theory or sexual content to their children, once again, you as a parent are the first educator of your child. If you want to teach them this radicalized gender theory, that's fine. Do it in your own time. It shouldn't be part of the school curriculum. But also, please ensure that when you're teaching your children this, let them know about the harmful effects of the cross-sex hormones, the harmful effects of the puberty blockers, the situations and the exact goings on around the gender mutilating surgery and the regret shown afterwards. Let them know all that, because I guarantee they're not.
Mate, what do we... I see that there's a few people saying, oh, too much for me, I've got to back out tonight in the chat. This is one of the things that I guess you find most confronting, because it is a very hard topic to talk about. It is confronting and sometimes graphic content that we need to talk about so that people fully understand in context what our children are being taught. And while I respect that for some people, for varying different reasons, some of the content in tonight's show might be a bit too much for them for varying reasons, it doesn't mean that we can turn our backs and ignore that.
Sorry, Carl, it just seems to be a bit of a lag, mate. I'm not sure I'm frozen, so there you go. I got you back.
There we go. Yeah, got back. Try again.
Yeah, I think I knew what you were getting to there. Look, I get it. But like I said earlier, these are your kids. And what I'm saying here is my own personal experience and can be backed up with emails, letters, links to content. If whether you have a child at school or not, it is imperative. Once us adults can't protect our children, we're cooked as a society.
Yeah.
Now, if a child was on the other side of the road being sexually inappropriately spoken to or harassed in any way, shape or form, you as an adult would be across the road in 2 seconds to sort that, to help the young child, wouldn't you, Carl?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what's the difference that it's happening in schools? Would you just keep walking down the road and saying, oh, it's all too confronting for me? Look, and I get it.
The difference is you and I walking down the street seeing this happen are private citizens in a public place. But if we're onto a school and confront a teacher...
Yeah, I'm not talking... I was more talking about... I was more talking about the mentality of it, Carl, not the physical aspect of it, the mentality behind it in terms of protecting your kids.
Yeah.
Now, I get it. Some of this content tonight might have, like I said earlier on, I apologise if this offends anyone, but you know, hard conversations need to be had on this issue. And I get it, excuse me, I get it, that some people may be traumatised by the content. But so that makes it hard for them to deal with. I get it. But what we're doing is trying to save a whole bunch of children that will be traumatized in a few years' time. Now, you made a point earlier about the rates of young people seemingly going up who want to identify as opposite sex. Yeah, that's because we're now seeing the effects of all this sexualized indoctrination and brainwashing being implemented 5-10 years ago. We're now seeing the effects of that. And these kids are as young as preschool are being indoctrinated with this content. So my advice to any parents that take your kids to the local daycare centres, the local kindergartens, the local schools, ask the teachers for the content that they're being taught and the full content. Because then if your child comes home and they don't provide you with that full content and your child tells you what they learned today and it isn't part of their content, you can actually get them in a lot of trouble. So,
a heap of trouble.
so start small. Start small. So that letter I read out before, like I said, that's one thing you can do. Send an email to your teachers as well too. On the Leave Our Kids Alone website, there's various links. If you go into the parents, your rights as parents and what you can do. Article 18, just let me call this up, Carl, for a moment. Article 18, Section 4 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. It clearly states here, just bear with me for a moment, mate. Article 18, Section 4, the states parties to the present covenant undertake to have respect for the liberty of parents and, when applicable, legal guardians, to ensure the religious and moral education of their children in conformity with their own convictions. That's pretty much black and white. Send them that and let them know that if you teach my child anything that is not in my moral convictions and you have not informed me or do not give you my consent, I will have you charged under human rights violations. It's a breach of the ICCPR code. I mean, quite ironic that the UN, they're all still part of the UN. Quite ironic that on the own UN website it openly encourages sexuality education for 5-year-olds. So it's just an absolute clown show, Carl. It really is. Yeah. And that's one. Also, let them know we should have. I've been promising this for a few weeks now. It's because it's legal stuff. I want to make sure we get it right. But there's actually a letter of vicarious liability you can serve on your teachers to basically say any content you teach my child that suffers to mental health issues down the track, you'll be held personally liable. Start giving your teachers a few of those letters and the principals as well too. You watch them start exposing all the content that is being taught. Secondly, a lot of them will stop teaching it. Now, they are under pressure in the education department because, it's an absolute rabbit warren and snake pit of the way that they've implemented this, because part of the school's funding agreements are they won't get their funding if they don't teach this stuff.
Yeah.
That's part of their funding agreement.
It
beggars belief.
And the militant bureaucrats inside the education department who've only ever worked inside university political organisations and worked their way up into union roles and that kind of thing. They're still in the system, only now they've made their way either right to the very top or may have just tapped out because they've received early retirement. After the guild.
Well, I'll give you one example. Yeah, so one example was when they had the big pick-up about the about the safe schools in Victoria here. What good old shoelaces Daniel Andrews did in 2017, he handpicked one of his little cronies called Joel Radcliffe to roll out the respectful relationships, put him in a prime position, paid him lots of money to push the agenda for the respectful relationships and the sexualised content and the radicalised gender theory. In his own words, this Joel Radcliffe, parents, complete disdain for parents. Parents won't have the power to shut this down. Now, that was quoted in an Australian newspaper article in February 17. Now, what disdain is that for parents? Or parents won't have the power to shut this down. Really, Joel? Well, Joel's not in that position anymore. He's been helicoptered out and he's got some nice cushy job up in Canberra now. Go figure. We all know that's the standard procedure. Get dropped in, do your job, and then we'll put you in a nice plum cushy job afterwards. Every single time.
Nice six figures a year and then some. All the benefits. I just want to bring up the website for a moment, Craig, and let people know they can find now. Leave Our Kids Alone.org is the title, but it's kids with a Z, even though it's spelled S on the screen there. So it's Leave Our Kids with a Z Alone.org. And as you said, on there is a great number of different resources. There's a petition. You can find out, because you're very active with events too, aren't you? Every week you're out and about in Victoria somewhere.
Yeah, that's
this
correct.
week, and every Friday, I think it is, you're on the steps of Parliament.
So it's every week. I mean, sometimes twice a week. I'd love to be able to be out 2 or 3 times a week with booking these presentations, information sessions. I also make sure the last few weeks, and I'll be doing that every Saturday, because we used to do the stands in the parks. Now that the winter's set in, stands in the parks aren't that really appealing because you don't have that much traffic going through the parks in the winter months. So what we thought we'd do is we join the guys that walk through the city every Saturday with the big PA system and letting people know what the real truth is behind government corruption, and we also get to talk about the sexualized indoctrination of our kids as well too. Part of the reason, look, let's go back to the parents, Carl, and people saying this is all too much. Look, I get it. But I'll put it to you this way. It is up to our generation right now. We are the ones that have to stop this. Because if this is not stopped now, we are going to have another generation of young people into their 20s who think this is all normal behavior and that's what you do. And the kids now in their, ages 5 to even 3-year-olds, but 5 to 18, even the younger ones, primary school age ones, think this is normal. Having kids saying, "Oh, it's normal to be a cat. I can be a cat if I want to be." This whole nonsense of you can be whatever it is you want to be is damaging. Now, if as a child, remember what it was like as a child, Carl. You pretend to be a dog, you pretend to be Superman, you pretend to be a horse, you pretend to be a kangaroo. Doesn't mean you want to be one.
Found my cousin once pretending to be a cow. We got to him just before he put the milk machine on himself. So
exactly what these woke, nasty, deliberate, progressive teachers do. Immediately, some child comes out with that. They start filling their heads and confusing their heads. Oh, you might really want to be a dog, or you might really want to be a boy, or you might really want to be a girl. Well, if you like wearing boys' clothes, that means that you want to be a boy. I kid you not, that's some of the language that's used.
That's ridiculous.
It is frightening. Now, what is happening now, and this is why parents have to get actively involved, because especially if you've got a primary school child, you are playing Russian roulette, especially if you're not having conversations with that child, because this is what's happening. When children of high school age, even before in primary school age, okay, now out of the own education department's website, and I'm going to quote this to you, Carl. I'm going to quote you a few examples. You can find this on the Lead Our Kids Alone website. Now, this is Victorian, but I'm sure every different state will have this on their website somewhere. Now, parental consent. Now, this is around gender transitioning and gender reassignment, yeah? There may be circumstances. This is on the Education Department website. The link is on the Leave Our Kids Alone. There may be circumstances in which students wish or need to undertake gender transition without the consent of their parents or carers and or without consulting medical practitioners. I'll read you the second paragraph. If no agreement can be reached between the student and the parents regarding the student's gender identity, or if the parents will not consent to contents of a student support plan, it will be necessary for the school to consider whether the student is a mature minor. So the school gets to decide whether your child is mature enough without you knowing, without you consenting. Now, I've been involved in the school system for 15 years. These student support plans they write up are with the parent has no consent, no knowledge of it, not until they get to the final stages. Now, there might be 9 points listed in this student support plan. If the parent disagrees with only one, it's considered not consenting. Then the school will start to take steps into gender reassigning or taking steps to start gender reassignment or gender affirming care which it's called. Once again, gender-affirming care is giving testosterone injections to girls, puberty blockers to boys, estrogen tablets, cross-sex hormones, gender mutilation surgery. That's what gender-affirming care is. And they will take your child away if you protest or do not consent. Then they get DHS involved. Now, this is happening. This is happening. And it will continue to happen, and the numbers will continue to grow unless we get this stopped, because children are being horribly confused. I'm going to quote you out of the West Australian Jurist. Okay. Once again, you can find this document on the Leave Our Kids Alone website. Now, the West Australian Jurist is a yearly blind peer-reviewed academic publication of the West Australian Legal Theory Association, and the journal selects for publication high-quality papers from any topic. Sorry, guys, I have to put the gloves on that. Within legal theory, regardless of ideological perspectives. Now, this document was written in 2018. It's called Respecting Difference, an analysis of the Australian Safe Schools program and parental rights in education. This is just one example of this is happening, because parents might say, oh, that doesn't happen. It is happening, and it is happening in plague proportions. They are increasing it. Now, some people might say, oh, there's laws against that. Yes, technically, you need both parents lawfully to consent to your child having gender mutilating surgery. What is happening is this: if the parent objects, then it's taken to family court, and family court rubber stamp it, and the kid is allowed to have gender mutilating surgery, because we know what the family court is all about here in this country. Now, in this article, or in this piece, it's a very well written journal, very well referenced. One of the references in this, I'm going to read you the page. It's a reference from a Dr. Elizabeth Smith out of her journal that she wrote, Gender Affirming Schools Towards Safe Schools for Gender Diverse and Transgender Young People in Australia. This was written in 2015. This has been going on back in 2015. And she's out of La Trobe University. Well, knock me down with a feather.
What a surprise.
She writes, yeah, amazing, isn't it? La Trobe University research quotes a case in which teachers facilitated a student to leave school for gender transitioning advice without parental consent. In the words of the student, a number of staff members did all they could to assist me in a period where my parents refused to allow me to transition. My teachers broke multiple rules to allow me to leave school without my parents' permission for medical appointments. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't understand how this could be allowed at any level, and where do parents go to complain? To the principal, to the education department? That's the thing. The snake has 100 heads here. It doesn't matter which one you go to, or kill or cut off. There is another one to back it up, and they're all faceless, nameless bastards. You can't find anyone to hold accountable except the minister, and then you'll get a dismissive letter from a ministerial advisor saying, "Get your." Well,
the minister's complaining this down here in Victoria. Our education minister is Ben Carroll. He's the deputy premier. I mean, that's the sad state of politics in this country, that an absolute blonk like Ben Carroll is the deputy premier and the education minister. He openly stated a couple of weeks ago, there's a big push out of America once again at the moment to, because children can access pornography so easily, that they need to educate children in the correct vocabulary and education around pornography. So they're introducing into schools. Education Minister Ben Carroll said this a couple of weeks ago. They're going to start introducing into schools porn literacy. Porn literacy. They already started doing it. Porn literacy down in Geelong. Yeah, porn literacy. School in Geelong, St. Joseph's College. Hello, St. Joseph's College. And I'm sure These thoughts aren't echoed by you, Carl. This is me speaking by myself, and I don't care. Okay. 600 kids were led into an auditorium. Teachers were there as well too, under the banner of, once again, diversity and inclusion. The first line this facilitator come out and said was, "Today we are going to be talking about jerking off to pornography," to a group of Year 10 students. It just beggars belief, mate.
Is this a mixed, like, co-ed school?
Yes. Yes, it was. So
did they go on to show examples, or?
I don't know, because the young person left because he was made to feel uncomfortable, so he left, and then apparently he was given a detention for leaving.
Of course, you're refusing the indoctrination. So.
Yeah, exactly. Now, my suggestion to parents would be is to start writing to your teachers and asking them for the content. If you are a group of concerned parents, request a meeting with the school. Go and sit on the council meetings. There was one primary school, and I just excuse me, this Carl. Now, this is where I'm going to call this up. I got sent this today. It was a letter from a primary school that went out to parents in the far western suburbs. It was about human development and relationships for grade 5. Okay. Now, some schools are starting to be made aware that they are going to get themselves in great trouble. So they're starting to take these steps. Okay. Now, this the program will commence on the 29th of July, and all 3 weekly sessions will be taken by, I won't mention the lady's name. It's a community health nurse out at one of the health services that are attached to the council, local council out there. We want to know this person's qualification to teach sex education to young children. You would assume she'd have it. Well, they have a parent info session. Session 1 is about puberty. Session 2 is about reproduction. Session 3 is about relationships. Now, this is for 10-year-olds. So in grade 5, 10, 11-year-olds. Now, if it's just about basic reproductive, okay, you'd probably say, no problem. But it's not just about that. So that's the questions you've got to be asking as a teacher. Please show me the full content of what is being taught, because this is one of the questions out of the OSVALs, the catching on early, that this is taught about. And this is the way they sneak this stuff in, this radicalized gender theory, into what might be seemingly harmful conversations. This is out of the module. Once again, you can download this from out of the Leave Our Kids Alone, and it is in the Are You Being Played? Okay, in the section Are You Being Played? Parents, Are You Being Played? And the link's on there. It's a catching on early document. That's the document there. This is one of the pages here. One of the questions, and this is from the Learning Sequence 4, OSVAL's Level 4. OSVAL's Levels 4 is for grades 5.
Yep.
What makes a boy, or what makes a boy, what makes a girl? This activity explores gender stereotyping. Ask the class, how else, apart from genitals, do we know if a baby is a boy or a girl? Really? Really? Can you see the way?
Yeah, it's very different to the way you and I think I was probably amongst the first, you two amongst the first of the students to receive our sexual education through a series of books called Where Did I Come From?
Yeah.
Now, they were cartoonish in nature from my memory of them. And I remember that on the night where we all had the big talk, and it was a night, it was a presentation that was given in the library of the school. Male and females were there, but so was one of our parents. with us while that
Yep.
presentation was being given. Now, that was either grade 5 or grade 6. I can't remember. I want to say
It was grade
likely
6
grade
for me,
6.
Carl, and it was a night. Yeah, and the boys had their night, and the girls had their night, and the boys were
Yeah.
brought along your dad, and basic things were taught, you know, about your testicles, about your penis, about the reproduction, about this and that, and where things fit, and that was it. That was it. Oh, the fact that you might get the odd wet dream or whatever was coming, but that was grade 6, and that was it. Not sexually explicit stuff talked about, like how to masturbate and where to touch yourself, and if you touch yourself there, it feels good. Like, this is just absolute nonsense. It is disgusting.
Yeah, it's grooming is what it is.
It is. It is absolute grooming, Carl.
And desensitizing. Now, where does that leave us with, I don't know if you know this girl's name or not, but this young lady, very attractive girl, starred on, I want to say, I don't know, one of those shows, The Bachelorette or The Bachelor or Maths or, I don't know, Some Farmer Needs a Root, and won it or came second or didn't win it. Or anyway, she wound up, because she was good looking, she had a following of, you know, quite many hundreds of thousands of people. She wound up with a nighttime national radio show. Abby Chatfield, her name is. Now, she's gone on to have quite a very successful career outside of that. She is an Instagram model and doesn't mind flaunting her body in ways and shapes and forms. She also has an extremely popular sex toy range. Now, she makes no bones about pushing that through her podcasts, and while she was still doing the radio job before it burned her out, she was pushing that quite hard. They're the vibrators that we're seeing put up on walls now as part of advertising billboards. You know, the Vush, I think it's called, or Vush model vibrator. Now, this stuff is popping up right beside Come to Prayers on Sunday at the Christian church down the road with their poster right beside it. Is this one of the symptoms? Like, you know, you and I, Abby Chatfield doesn't, who cares? But she is influencing a lot of young women in this country.
She is.
How do parents combat an influencer who, I mean, I'm not saying this is Abby, but she does, I think, have an OnlyFans, or did have an OnlyFans website, and I don't know what she was doing on it, what she was showing, what she wasn't doing. But there are plenty of influencers out there running OnlyFans sites where they're making pornography, provided, you know, you're making it on your terms, and the world is being desensitized to it. Are kids being shown that in schools? Is this what that education is leading to? Because seriously, they're looking younger and younger. Every time you go to the news these days, there's a porn star, and they're calling them an OnlyFans. You've got an OnlyFans account. Here's some porn star getting invited to something special, or driving a race car, or doing whatever. It's just being normalized like any other job now.
Spot on, Carl, and that was my point before, that mere exposure effect. Normalize. Now, once again, if it's Abby Chatfield, whatever her name is, more power to her. But she should know that her content, she has a form of moral obligation that her content is going to young girls, and young girls are watching this. And she's actually, gee whiz, she's... In 2018, 2019, Carl, I went to work at her school, and I won't name the school because this welfare worker was actually pretty good. Went to work with a young group of boys, and she said, "Oh, young such and such isn't here today. You won't be part of the group." So we had a little bit more of a conversation. So, cut a long story short, the reason he wasn't there on that day is because him and another year 8 boy were caught having a threesome with a year 7 girl at the back of the Oval at lunchtime the day before. This is the sort of stuff that goes on in schools, that kids think this sexualized behavior is normal. They watch. They watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, they watch now. When you and I grew up, it was we were all curious. You probably got hold of a magazine that you shouldn't have got hold of from one of the boys got from their dad's drawers or whatever, and that's so you're natural curious. But it was very pictures of naked women with in sort of compromising positions, and there might be the odd appendage. That was about it. Not to the really overtly rough sexual, basically no respect, no nothing attached to it whatsoever. That it's just normalizing this overly overt sexual content, and it's just wrong. So,
when did choking your partner become normal sexualized content?
That's a good question. But this is what these kids are exposed to. Now, once again, because they're exposed to it everywhere they turn, great idea further enforcing it in the school system. Einstein's, well done. And you're supposed to be the educators of our children, and you couldn't find your rear end with both your hands. Seriously. You are being dangerous and negligent because you want a virtue signal and skirt around the main issue that this content should not be taught in schools. I mean, for God's sake, you're having kids identifying as cats at school now, parents arguing that kitty litter should be left for them so they can defecate in school toilets. I mean, if that's not an OHS issue, I don't know what is for starters. Yeah. This is just absolute nonsense. But there is hope, Carl. There is hope because the UK government tabled legislation and hopefully about to get that voted through that actually stops. And it's on that document here. Once again, you can have a look at that on the Leave Our Kids Alone website on the links. And it's basically banning gender theory being taught in schools and banning any sexualized content being taught to 9-year-olds and below. So that's a good start. That's a good start, but it also provides a good... Sorry?
Bloody good start, I would agree.
Yeah. But it also provides an argument and some precedents for us to use over here as well too, with the education department and parents in schools as well too, when you're writing your letters. Now, people say to me, can you put a template up, Craig, and give us a guide? Yeah, well, what we will do in the next few days, I will put some points up that you can raise with your schools, but I'm not going to write the damn letter for you. It's time, guys. It's been 4 years. Okay, so you should have enough within you now to have that confidence to write that letter and write that email, and we'll give you some points and some questions you can raise, and also the responses that you're likely to get back, and then how to counter those as well too. We'll make sure I get that up in the next few days, Carl. But for God's sake, like I said, sorry.
Absolutely, and let me know when you've got it all up, and I'll plug the website yet again. I'm just bringing it up again. Leave Our Kids Alone, kids with Z.org. LeaveOurKidsAlone.org is the website. Craig, thanks for coming on tonight, mate. I think it's been an enlightening, powerful, and necessary chat, and I'd love to have more of them with you. I'm sure that you and I aren't the only people I know looking in the chat. There are many who feel the same way that we do. All around the country. Now, you are predominantly based in Victoria, but I know if the opportunity presents itself, you'll go out and speak out.
Funny you mentioned that, Carl, because what I was going to do... Sorry, seems to be lagging again.
Are you looking to grow that team? I know that...
No, sorry, Carl, I've just lost you for a sec, mate. Not sure.
There we go.
There you go. Got you back. Bit of a lag, mate.
Right. So, Beck's fruit seekers. So, are you looking for other people in other states? Is where I'm getting at.
Yeah. If I could just give the guys a mention from Guardians Australia, it's a group of people. Rose has got the initiative over there. She does a great job. It started off as Guardians South Australia. They're on Facebook. And what she's done is connected people from all over the country that are pushing back on this issue. So they're on Facebook, Guardians Australia. So have a look at, and there's some amazing links and information you can find on there as well too. go to another site called aww.org.au as well. The links to that is on the Leave Our Kids Alone section. It's got some amazing reference material and information on that site as well too. But I am looking to it's funny you mentioned that. I was thinking today I need to take the show on the road and start doing some presentations interstate. So when we've got those penciled in, Carl, we'll definitely let you know. But if there are people from up in New South Wales or other states that would like me to come out and deliver these presentations and speak to people, let me know, because if you can book a few together, we'll knock it over in a week or something. So send in your expressions of interest. Also, guys, if you are a teacher or you are a parent, email me in your accounts and what the stories and the challenges that you're facing and what your child's been subjected to at info@leaveourkidsalone.org. That email address is on the site. We need to know it. I mean, this letter that I read out before, or part of that about the 13 and 14-year-olds, what they were exposed to, that letter's up on the site for people to have a look at. It was an email that the parents sent to the school. So maybe look at that and get some references and some wording that you can use yourself. But definitely look to take get this message far and wide. So people can connect with Guardians Australia as well too on Facebook or Fascist Book. I will be having an Apple FM. That link I did to the radio interview the other week. I've got a regular monthly spot on Apple FM, the regional radio station in Bacchus Marsh. So that's once again, it helps get the message out. And this Wednesday night, if I may, just a couple more things, Carl. This Wednesday night at the Polish House in Rowville, you've got myself, Damien Richardson, and Nick Patterson all speaking in a panel event hosted by Matt Troy. That's the gentleman. If you've watched my lives, that's the gentleman that speaks on the microphone as we're going through the city. Matt's his website is workers.org.au. So have a look at that one. And this is about legitimate people coming together for a cause. And I'll be speaking about the kids issue. Nick, Damien, and Matt will be speaking about the overall government corruption and what you can do about it. So this is a perfect example. If you're in Melbourne, I've spoken to a couple of people over the last couple of days, a perfect example to a lot of your friends now are starting to, I don't like this expression, but we'll use it for the sake of the conversation. A lot of your friends are starting to wake up now, but not sure what to do. This is a perfect example to drag them along. Drag them along, come along, find out what you can do, connect with other like-minded people and network. Okay, so that's 6:30 Wednesday evening at the Polish House in Rowville. Once again, those details are on the Leave Our Kids Alone site. And also, just send me an email. You know, it's funny you mentioned that, before, I talk too hard, and God bless those people, and it is hard. However, it's not going to get any easier.
That's right.
And we all need to start stepping up into our courage and resilience. Is insignificant as what you think one of those little steps that you take. It isn't that insignificant. But what I'll be doing is running live seminars to help people step into that courage and resilience and provide a little bit more mental conditioning and mental toughness. So if you're interested in attending one of those seminars, send me and the seminars is not a money-making exercise. It'll be simply pay what you think. If you thought it was worth $5, pay $5. If you thought it was worth $1,000, pay $1,000. I'm not that anyone's going to be paying $1,000, but you know what I mean. It's pay what you. Yeah. This is about helping people and just paying for the cost of the venue, and any extra it's raised goes back into the Leave Our Kids Alone campaign. So, but it's more about helping people. So if you'd like to be part of one of those seminars or workshops or forums, whatever it is you want to call them, please send us an email at info@leaveourkidsalone.org, and I'll let you know when I'm going to run one in your neck of the woods. Thanks very much for the opportunity.
Mate. No problems at all, mate. No problems at all. One question from a good follower of ours, Sandy. She wants to know why A1 aren't behind you on this, and why you've been on this for for years. This isn't just a new thing for you. You've actually been working on this in the background for some time. She wants to know why A1 don't want to talk about it, but now seem to be claiming it themselves in other ways.
I don't care. That's not a fob off answer to what was the lady's name that asked the question?
Sandy.
Sorry, Sandy. That's not a. With all due respect, Sandy, that's not a fob off answer. I don't know and don't care. They seem to be good at taking ideas that aren't their own. But anyway, that's all I say about that. Don't care. Don't care what A1 do. Not interested.
I think the connection gods might be having a bit of a go at us now, mate. Just missed the last bit of that.
Did you? I said all I said was don't care. With all due respect, don't know, don't care. They seem to be good at taking ideas and making them their own, and that's okay. Won't even waste 5 seconds of breath talking about him.
All right, mate. Well, it looks like the connection god is going to go and crack the shits with us and pull. I'll let you go. Thanks for joining us tonight. I look forward to having you back on again in the not too distant future, and we'll help out wherever we can with Leave Our Kids with a Z alone.org.
Yeah.
So look out for Craig. If you'd like him to come and do his presentation in your town, then all you've got to do is email him info@leaveourkidsalone.org, kids with a Z. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for coming on. Look forward to talking again soon.
Carl, can't thank you enough for the opportunity and the platform, mate. Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
No, mate, I'm here for the kids as much as you are. And you won't remember, but many, many years ago, we met back when you were wrestling. And I was actually at an event at the Prince of Wales Hotel in St Kilda, barracking for something. I'm not sure if you weren't actually wrestling that night, a guy called Ox. Ox is a great fella. Oxy got out. I got into wrestling just as Ox was retiring and getting out of it, so we sort of didn't overlap. But no, Ox is a good fella. Yeah, lovely bloke. So that's got to be bloody 40 years ago, 35 years ago. So
I started wrestling way back in 2000. I started wrestling in 2004.
Oh, okay. Geez, well, maybe I was on a drunken rant. It might have been too, thinking about when and where I was working. But I did frequent the Prince of Wales because I did know I was working security at the time, so you sort of know the other guys from the other venues, mate. So that's probably where. Absolutely, too. I might have bumped into you at one or two venues. You probably threw me out of more than. All right,
everyone's bought shitness now, but anyway, Have
a good one,
mate.
See you, mate. That's Craig. If you want to go and check out the website, leaveourkidsalone.org, kids with a Z. Thanks for watching tonight, folks. I know it's hard sometimes, this topic, this subject matter, but it has to be spoken about. We have to open as many people's eyes to it as possible. And I know many people have suffered a trauma. Many people have personal experience of going through this shredder of a system. And I understand that sometimes this content might just be too much for them. And I apologize if that is the case. We hope don't lose you. Hope you're back tomorrow night. We won't be talking about this tomorrow night. It'll be something else. But we'll never apologize for the content of the quality of the content that we're putting out. We're not going to shy away from hard topics because people don't want to hear about them. That's how this evil has been perpetrated on us, because I want to hear about it with Sorry, we back? Oh, good. Every excuse I've heard other than let's stand up and fix it. So hopefully, I know you guys will. Now we need to attract a few more. And they need to be aware of everything that's going on and the ugliness of it all. And Craig is touching on and helping in a area of ugliness in this country that isn't just associated to Victoria. It has pervaded every learning institution in our country, from kindergartens through to universities, public and private, although you might be a little more shielded from it in the private sector, but I doubt it. They too get government money, diversity money. So they're not going to risk that sort of funding, not even the really rich ones. It's only through educating yourself, learning what these people are teaching your children, and finding out whether or not it's in line with your moral compass. If it's not, then it's up to you to do something about it, not just to stand back and let them pervert your son or daughter into a he, she, them, if, but, whatever. The dickheads just aren't only on the roads, folks. There's a few of them in our education department too. Protect yourselves from them just as much as the ones on the road.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!